Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my first video, so please be kind. If you like it, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Today I'm going to make a Dollar Tree foam board faux porcelain tile, and where possible I will provide links below. I originally made this one. It's rather large, and as you can see, it does actually resemble faux porcelain. If I turn it over, you can actually see that it is Dollar Tree foam board, and I would put a felt backing onto this. So that's what a large one looks like, and with the UV resin that's on it, you could certainly use it for a cup or a mug. But today I'm going to make a small one, and I'm using this die, which is available from AliExpress, and I'm going to use this flower, which is also available from AliExpress, and I've already cut them out and they are going to be glued and layered like this. And I've also decided I'm going to use a couple of very tiny stamens, also from AliExpress, to provide a little more texture and interest. So what you're going to need for this project, of course, is Dollar Tree foam board and whichever dies, flower dies, leaf dies, whichever shape that you choose to use to put on them. And you are going to need watercolors. I'm using distress markers, and I will also use a water brush. And I am also going to be using acrylic gesso. I like this one because it's extremely thick, and I like the impression of the brush strokes in it. And you will also need a brush, and I use a collage stick to glue everything down because it's nice and simple, it's not messy, and it works. Always useful to have scissors, and of course I'm going to need a pokey tool because I want to use stamens, and I will take the middle out of this flower, and I do intend to put a hole through here so that I can thread the stamens through, as I said, to provide a little more texture and interest. So let's begin. Okay, so I've cut my Dollar Tree foam board and I have my flower. I also have my centre, and hopefully I'm going to be able to poke a hole directly through the centre of that, and I'm going to push that through as far as I can without distorting it. Twist it around a few times to make the hole big enough, and that should do it. I'm now going to take my stamens and double them over, give them a bit of a pinch, and attempt to tuck them through that hole. That was successful. I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to pull them through where I need them and kind of arrange them right now before I glue the whole thing down, so that I can see whether I want them to be all the way down there, or if I want to spread them out. I think I'll just give them a small amount of height. I'm going to fold those over like that, because once that goes inside the flower, like so, they can tuck right behind a petal. So that will hide them, and it will also, once glued, hold them fast. So I'm going to get my glue stick, and it doesn't matter where I apply this because we're going to gesso over it, so any markings or stains that you get from your glue are going to be hidden. I'm now going to pick up my flower, and I quite like it in that position, and I'm going to pop it down, tuck that stamen string under there, and push the centre down. I'm quite happy with the position of my flower. I'll just give that a bodge. There we go. And I quite like the idea that I'm going to have something that's a different texture and dimension coming up from something that's going to be quite solid, because of course UV resin does set hard. You can use a UV lamp, or if you have bright sunshine, you can take it outside and leave it in the sun to cure. Usually takes about 25 to 30 minutes in bright sunshine. I do have a UV lamp, and with that you're talking maybe 3 minutes maximum, depending on how thick your layer is. So now you just have to leave that to dry. It's now dry, and I'm just trying to give you a close-up here of its dimension. I'm now going to put it back down on the worktop because it's time to give it a coat of gesso. I like to use a paintbrush to apply gesso, but of course you can, if you choose to, use your finger. So I'll show you now why I like this so much. It's incredibly thick, and it, for me, gives a great painterly effect with the brush strokes that it leaves. So I'm going to brush this all over, give it a good coat, because we're trying to make the surface absorbent, as well as giving it a protective cover, because of course foam board is 2 sheets of paper, and in between it is sandwiched a very thin sheet of polystyrene. Of course, from Dollar Tree, it's only $1 per sheet, absolute bargain. And you can do some wonderful things with the foam board. I've actually gone around now the edge, and you can see I've hidden that stitching effect, but I still have a nice border, and perhaps I put just a little too much on here, I don't know, but I'm trying to avoid covering my stamens, but at the same time I want to completely seal the flower to the foam board, and I want to just keep dabbing that with my brush to get some good texture. And that's it, that's done. Hopefully you're able to see that. It's okay, I'm not used to using a camera over my head, and angles can feel a bit strange. So I'm going to clean up my mess, and then I'll be back when this is dry. Takes about 20 minutes. I'm back and the gesso is now dry, and I'm going to be using distress markers, and I've chosen these colours, Broken China, Salty Ocean, Pickled Raspberry, and can't see that one. Victorian Velvet, and of course a water brush to blend. Now with gesso you will find that it is quite absorbent and can take in, or shall I say soak in, a lot of the colour. As you can see on this tile that I made, I actually used these two colours, which are marmalade and mustard seed, and you can see exactly how pale they look, which I quite like anyway, but just an example of how it will suck in and absorb colour, and because it's white it will mute it down. So anyway, let's begin painting. So I'm going to take the marker and colour directly onto the mat. I hope you can still see that. I'm going to scribble some colour. That's Pickled Raspberry. And this one, as I already said, Victorian Velvet. I'm going to scribble some of that onto the mat there, and I'm going to pick up the palest colour first, and I like to squeeze a drop of water onto my mat just in case a colour is too strong and I need to blend it out. So I'm going straight in to create a wash with that and begin colouring the petals. As you can see, it picks up the brush strokes, which I love, and intensifies the colour in the recesses, which can look lovely, rather like oil paint effect. So there we go. That's my paler shade, and as that dries, the chances are it will become even paler. Now I'm going into the Pickled Raspberry, which is quite a strong colour, and I'm just going to start in the centre, which might look a bit odd for the moment. And I'm going to wash my brush in that little drop of water, brush it out on some kitchen paper, and then I'm going to go back into the Victorian Velvet and pull that colour along. You can see some of it has just dripped down the edges there. That doesn't matter because that'll create a dimensional shadow. Yeah, I think I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to give it a stronger colour. That's the nice thing, isn't it, about crafting, is you can just get on and do your own thing, which is wonderful. That was my husband who just opened the door. He didn't realise I was filming. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. And now we need to do a background colour. So I'm just going to reach for some kitchen towel and clean those colours off my mat. I usually work in a mess, but on camera I didn't think you'd like to see that. Right, so now we're going to apply the blue colours to the mat. So I'm scribbling down Salty Ocean and also broken china. Actually, I think this one's dried out, so I might need to grab another one off the shelf. Let's see if I can put it. Ah, yeah, not that dried out, so I can apply it straight onto the gesso. This is the paler of the two, but just scribble out what I've got left, because this one's going to have to go in the bin. It's always important to, if you buy markers, use them and use them often, especially this type of marker, because it just doesn't last very long. So, reaching onto my shelf there, the next one I've got is Tumbled Glass, which is a bit pale, but that's the one that I'm going to have to use. So, let's see if there's some oomph left in that. Ah, yeah, that's quite nice. So, I can go around and into those details. Just go around loosely. You just need to put down a little bit of colour, and then we're going to go in with the water brush, and there's still a little bit of pink on there, which is quite nice. Nice effect. And get into all of those small recesses. Just keep brushing that colour around and brushing it out. But you can see how the gesso makes everything quite muted. Of course, you can use really bright acrylic inks over gesso, and you will get a very vibrant colour and finish. But I actually wanted muted, so now I'm going to go in with some Salty Ocean, which I've already scribbled on the map, but I'm going to put some more down because it's dried a little bit. So water brush again. This will be a much stronger colour, and I can take that around the edge to highlight it. Highlight the fact that the dye has given me a border, and using the Dollar Tree foam has given it dimension, so you actually look as if you have a frame. And I'm also going to pick some of that up and go into the recesses to give it a little bit more colour and dimension. You can see my gesso wasn't completely dry, so it has picked up on the brush a little, which is a shame, but these things happen. Okay, now I'm going to clean my mat again, and I'll just do that by squirting out water. And I'm going to go in, I think, with a Barn Door Red, which is quite brave, but I'm hoping it's going to give an even greater pop of colour. So this will give you a good idea of just how absorbent gesso is. So I've scribbled out quite a bit on my map there, and I do want to water it down because I know barn door can be incredibly bright, but if I just flood some of that to pick up the brush strokes. I'm kind of getting the feeling of a hibiscus flower here with those stamens in the centre. Yeah, I think that's giving it a lot more dimension. I'll pick that up so that you can see. Maybe that's a bit too close to the camera. There we go. And I'm going to dab a bit more of that. I quite like the idea that this one is a lot stronger than the original tile that I made in colour. And I also think I'm going to go a lot darker on the blue as well. So I'm going to use the sapphire blue, and obviously I'm going to squeeze that out, clean my brush. See, Bondo always, it kind of sucks up into the barrel of your water pen when you use Bondo. But hopefully the sapphire blue will counteract that. So I'm putting that down onto the mat now. So I have lots and lots and lots of these distress markers because they're always drying out on me, so I never know which ones are on the verge of ending and which are the new ones. So now I'm going in here with the sapphire blue, and that's giving it a real pop of colour. I like that. It's nice and strong, and you start to see all of those brush marks from the gesso begin to come out. That's a great colour actually. I'll make sure I keep a note of that because that looks really nice. Take that down. I like the idea that I have a framed edge. Doesn't need to be perfect, of course. Nothing I make ever is. And go back on top, and I think I might actually do a yellow border, and what do you think? Yellow border? Maybe I'll just leave it like that. Indecision. But there we go. Okay. I'm quite happy with that. Wash the brush again. You can see there's still some Bondo red coming through the barrel, even though I'm washing that out. There. And of course I try to make my paper towel last as long as possible. I'll brush that out, and then I'm going to use it to clean the mat. Okay. Now I have to let that dry, and when we come back we'll be able to put some UV resin on there. My UV resin is off camera because I keep it wrapped in kitchen foil, aluminum foil. I wrap the body of the bottle and also the cap, and I keep a teat pipette and my brush wrapped in the same aluminum foil, because of course if you get sunlight on UV resin it will set hard, and that is not what you want. So I'll be back when this is dry. Everything's now nice and dry, and I am now going to use some UV resin. I keep all of my things wrapped in aluminum foil. As I said before, the brush remains soft. You can still keep product in the teat pipette if you wish to. You must keep everything out of sunlight, otherwise, as I said earlier, it will go hard. But I will just unscrew the lid from the bottle, and I keep the little plastic cap there on, and I just wiggle my brush around, and I like to get a good bit out, enough to cover the surface, and I put the lid straight back on and just simply brush it all over your project, because I live in Florida and sometimes the sunshine coming through the window can be pretty strong, and this can set in small places before I've even finished. But I've actually got this camera over in a dark corner of my craft room, so this should be okay. Now I've got that completely covered, and I want to try to arrange the stamens into the resin and see if I can get those to stick. If they don't, it doesn't matter, but I've actually coated those. I don't want too much dimension, of course, because if I decide to use this piece on the front of a card, I can't have big chunks of stamen sticking up out of the envelope. Now I do have some on my craft mat, but that doesn't matter because once it's cured, because it's silicone, it will peel off. So I have that, and I'm wrapping my brush up straight away in aluminum foil once again, and screwing the cap tightly on the bottle and moving it out of the way of the UV lamp. And I'm now going to bring my UV lamp in over my project. I'm going to hit the button there, giving me 60 seconds, and that should cure quite quickly. Huge amount of silence here while it cures, you have to excuse me, and I think perhaps I'll pause and come back when it's done. It's now cured, and this is the finished piece, and it really does look like porcelain tile. And of course the larger one that I made using larger dies, and it sets hard. Obviously on the back you can see that it's foam board and a square piece of felt glued on, and you have a very nice decorative piece or a coaster for a coffee cup. But this one, I'm going to use that one on a card. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you. Bye.